Hello, I'm Professor Matthew Rotella, and in this tutorial I'm gonna just very uh, basic material creation and assignment. So to create a material, the easiest place to go is just to your Hypershade, because there's this little blue ball shortcut to it, or you can go under Windows, Rendering Editor, and Hypershade. And this is where generally you'll be creating materials, or at least it's the easiest place to. You can create materials just by holding down right click, and you can say assign new material, and it'll uh, bring up some menus and you can go from there. But the Hypershade is a window custom made for making and editing materials. It's broken up into 5 sections. You got your browser up here where thumbnails are for browsing between different materials that already exist in your scene. Create for creating materials. This is the graph editor in the middle here, which you'll have a node graph that corresponds to each material. For example, I could say graph network, and here's the graph network for the original Lambert. The material viewer, which gives you a preview of the material, and the property editor, where you can edit uh, various attributes of your material. So I got 3 objects here. I'm going to make 3 different materials and assign them to the object. So I'm going to make Arnold materials just because I'll be rendering in Arnold, and typically you make materials for whatever engine you're rendering in. I'll make an AI standard surface, just standard surface shader to start. Always good to start by naming it. And I'm going to make this one blue, so I'll call it AI blue. And then I will go into color here, or I can double click for this little viewer here, but regardless, I'm just going to make it straight blue, and that'll do me. Okay, so I got my AI blue. I usually like to leave the little AI prefix just so I know that this is an Arnold standard surface shader. And anytime you click on anything here in the Create tab on this side of the menu, it will create a new material, a new shader. So I'll make another one, AI standard surface, and this one I'll make red. So I'll call it AI red, and I'll go into color here, and I'll make it red. And of course I could change anything else about its surface, but that's not what this tutorial is about. It's more just about creating materials, just good practice to name a material whenever you create it, and then assigning them. And then I'll make one more material. I'll close out my node graph again, and I'll make the AI wireframe material, and I'm making this one, which I'll just leave as AI wireframe 1. And I'm making this one just so that you can see just a brief thing about how different materials can function. Anyway, I'll make the blue ball, or I'll make the ball blue, which you can do by just clicking on the object, and then if you hold down right click on the thumbnail of your Hypershade, you can see there's assign material to selection. I have the ball selected, so it will assign that material to my selection. But as I showed before, you can also assign a material, or rather, as I showed this menu before, you can also assign a material by just holding down right click on the object itself. Like, you don't have to have the Hypershade open. I can just hold down right click on this cube, assign existing material down here at the bottom, and then since I named it, I know which is which. I can make this cube red. And then this torus, I'm going to put the wireframe shader on. And so I'll go to hold down right click, or even again, I'll just do the Hypershade thing where I select the object, which this is, and usually when you have the Hypershade open like this, it's easier to use when you have like a lot of materials that you need to browse through as opposed to looking at a big pop-up list. At least it is for me. But I'll do hold down right click, again hold down right click to bring up this fly menu. You got to make sure that this is still selected over here, and then assign material to selected. So now I have wireframe on this object, and I picked a utility material just to show that some shaders, which, let me bring up my, there we go, my little, my resolution gate. But yeah, some materials you don't need lights for, such as the wireframe shader. As a matter of fact, you can see the wireframe shader is giving off a little bit of light. But you can see that it's not giving me an accurate representation of my geometry because I have all quads here. So that's what things like the property editor is for, where you need to, edit the properties of things. So if I change this to polygons and then, refresh my render, then it will accurately represent my geometry. And then other things you do need lights for. So just to make the quickest light possible, I'll make a AI skydome light, and then those materials, if I hit render, now they will render. Now that I have a light, that is, where this could render before without having any lights whatsoever. So just the difference between certain materials, and but yeah, that's the basics behind assigning a material to an object. Either just hold down right click, go down to assign existing material. I can make the cube blue now, or select the object, hold down right click on its thumbnail in the browser of the Hypershade, assign material to selection, and so on. Okay, that's it for this, and y'all have good day, morning, night, what have you.